Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sonia. If you're new here, welcome. I post a lot of interesting topics on limerence, and today's video is also interesting because it's all about taking back your power and your obsession and your focus and your energy from your limerent object back to yourself. Because in limerence, it's actually very common for limerent people to actually be super obsessed and super mentally focused. All your attention is on your limerent object and not yourself. So your entire existence, your thoughts, your self-worth, self-esteem can be totally wrapped up and revolving around your limerent object instead of yourself. And that's how you start to kind of lose sight of that connection that you have within you. You lose sight of your intuition, you are completely disconnected with your life, you lose sight of your purpose, and you lose sight of your, you stop feeling as well. So today's video is all about how you can actually take back that power, that focus, that attention, and become more obsessed with you, yourself, instead of your limerent object. So I have a couple of tips and I am ready to share them in this video.
So, when your thoughts, your emotions, and even your sense of self worth are wrapped up in how your limerent object or how your crush actually feels about you, how do you then break free from that constant mental loop and bring the focus back to yourself? So, I have 6 tips, and let me dive into the first one, which is recognizing the power that you are giving away. So, one of the first steps in shifting your focus back to yourself is to recognize how much power you've given to the other person. In limerence, your happiness, your mood, and your self esteem often feel like they are dependent on your limerent object's attention or their approval. So, realizing this helps you to understand that you've been placing your power outside of yourself and giving it away to your crush. Okay, so one thing to really ask yourself, and I want you to be really, really, really honest with yourself. Why, ask yourself, why is your crushes or your limerent object's attention so important to you? Okay, what part of you actually feels incomplete without it? What does their attention bring for you? What is it helping you with in your life? Awareness, having this kind of self-awareness is really the first step towards reclaiming your power and taking back your energy. Okay, the very next point number 2, is to learn how to bring your attention back to the present. So when you're obsessed with someone, your thoughts are often stuck in the future. So you're imagining scenarios with this person, or you are actually stuck in the past where you're reliving moments with them. So mindfulness practices in this case can really help you bring your attention back to the present moment, where you have the most control over your actions and your feelings, as well as your patterns, your habits, and your thought processes. So, simple practices like deep breathing, grounding exercises, or mindful journaling can really help you to notice when your mind drifts to thoughts of the other person and gently redirect it back to yourself. One of the things that I used to do when I was healing from limerence was whenever I had a rubber band around my wrist, and whenever I had a thought of my limerent object, or I started kind of like drifting away from the present and kind of drifting into my fantasies and stuff like that, that was actually the cue to kind of like snap the rubber band on my wrist. Is kind of to remind myself to snap back to the present reality. You can, there are lots of ways and techniques in which you can actually bring yourself back to the present moment, but mindfulness techniques really, really help. And, just getting into the flow of things that you're doing right now can really help as well. The next tip is to really reconnect with what makes you feel whole. So, limerence, or when you're limerent, it often causes you to lose sight of your own interests, your passions, your life calling, your goals, your to do list, because you're so focused on someone else. So, one powerful way to shift your attention back to yourself is by reconnecting with the things that bring you joy and fulfillment. So, ask yourself, what are your hobbies? What are your hobbies, your creative outlets, or activities that you actually have that make you feel alive? Okay, so reinvest in your passions, and you will start to see that you will naturally start to build a sense of identity that isn't dependent on another person and isn't dependent on your limerent object. So one of the things that I actually did, or I actually recommend like my clients to do, first thing is take note of what actually keeps you incredibly focused, like in a complete state of flow in your present life. Okay, so it could be reading, it could be like exercising, it could be writing, it could be something else, like gardening, doing certain kinds of chores around the house. It keeps you very focused in the present, and you can actually like lose yourself in the activity or in that particular event for like maybe for even hours on end. I know that when I'm in very deep flow state, I can spend actually hours writing, and it's amazing to me because like my entire like mind and my entire like sense of being is just focused on what I'm actually doing. The second tip that I have for you is to actually ask yourself, if you can still remember, what are the things that actually made you really really excited and really happy as a child. So what were some of the things that actually brought you a lot of joy and also put you in this like state of flow when you were a child? It could be building model aeroplanes, coloring, drawing, anything. Okay, think back about when you were a child, when you were much younger, what actually were things that you really really love doing. This is because as adults we can actually forget what it actually feels like, to really be in a state of flow, and it can really if we can also forget what it actually makes us really really happy as children, because this also helps you connect with your inner child and to heal your inner child, which is a very big wounded pattern in limerent individuals. So two things that you can actually do, but learn how to reconnect with your hobbies, your creative outlets, your activities. Have a bucket list if you need to, and tap on that bucket list whenever you feel like you've run out of ideas. Okay, the next point, setting emotional and mental boundaries. Okay, it's incredibly important to set clear boundaries, and not just with the other person but also with yourself. So decide how much mental space you want to allow this person to occupy, and ask yourself in the first place if this person should even be occupying any mental space. Okay, are they even worth occupying a mental space? Because there's so many things that happens in our days, our lives. Is this person actually worth it, right? To actually occupy your mind. So when thoughts of them actually come up, it's easy to spiral into overanalyzing, fantasizing, replaying scenarios from the past and in the future. But what you can do is you can actually practice this thing called cognitive distancing. When you catch yourself obsessing or thinking too much about him or her, pause, okay, recognize the thought, and then gently redirect your mind to something more self affirming. Okay, so setting internal boundaries gives you back control over your thoughts. So that's what I did, and I think I shared this earlier. Whenever I was actually obsessing or found myself going down this rabbit hole of thinking about my limerent object too much and fantasizing too much about him, I'll actually tell myself, okay, I need to do something productive. I need to do something that will better my life today. And fantasizing about my limerent object is not, it's not it. So what I did was then I had this bucket list of things that I would actually do, to get into like the present current flow state, and I actually then shift into that energy space. So um, things that are shifting your thoughts away from your fantasies can be a little bit difficult to do at first, because your mind is so used to thinking about this person. But rest assured, um, when you start to build up new habits of refocusing your thoughts and your thinking, shifting away from this person to another activity, you'll find that it gets easier over time. Okay, so the next tip that I have is to shift the dopamine reward loop. And part of the reason limerence feels so addictive is because of the brain's dopamine system. So every single time your limerent object gives you attention, you get this real huge hit of dopamine, making you want more and more from them. So, to break this cycle, you need to find new ways to get that dopamine reward from within yourself. Okay, so here you can start small. Okay, celebrate your own achievements. Okay, celebrate your achievements every day, things that you have actually accomplished every day. Maybe you took one step to becoming a better person today. Celebrate that, even the tiny ones. Okay, engage in physical activities or creative projects that give you a sense of accomplishment. And over time, your brain will start to shift its focus away from needing external validation to creating internal rewards. And like I said earlier, once you actually make this into a habit, you gain momentum in doing these things for yourself from within. It becomes, this new fantastic habit that you've built for yourself, and you start to shift away from the habits that actually made you limerent in the first place and have been sustaining your limerence all this while. Okay, so start to shift the dopamine reward loop. The sixth tip that I have is to learn how to practice self compassion. Um, Limerence often comes with feelings of shame, of guilt, and of frustration, especially when you recognize that your obsession is unhealthy. So here we can actually start to feel really embarrassed of the fact that we are limerent, and we actually, instead of healing ourselves or instead of talking to people about it and seeking help, we tend to go even deeper within our fantasies and kind of shut off help or shut off support from other people. But this actually makes your limerent cycle actually, worsen over time. So learn to be gentle with yourself as you navigate this healing process. Okay, healing from limerence, honestly, it doesn't happen overnight. Okay, it took me a couple of years. Um, and you definitely are going to face setbacks along the way. So sometimes you'll feel like, I took one step forward in my healing journey, and then it's another two steps back again when I, kind of spiral down the rabbit hole with my limerent object. But it's really, really important to know that this is completely normal. And what you really need to do is be kind and compassionate with yourself. So instead of criticizing yourself for obsessing, okay, and thinking too much and fantasizing about your limerent object, recognize that it is a very completely normal human experience and that you are taking steps forward, towards reclaiming your emotional autonomy. So learn to speak kindly to yourself, okay? Affirm your worthiness with or without your limerent object's attention. Um, this is, when you're kinder to yourself, you'll find that you build in a lot of self-love and self-esteem practices that can actually help to combat and heal, help you heal from limerence as well. And the very last tip that I have for you today is to cultivate inner fulfillment. So a major reason limerence actually takes hold is that we often look for fulfillment outside of ourselves, but lasting happiness and emotional security have to come from within ourselves. So start focusing on building a life that feels, full, it feels complete, it feels holistic and rewarding, even without a romantic partner. Okay, this is an interesting concept, and I'm not sure if you are at that space where you can, accept this tip at this moment. But knowing that and trusting yourself to be, to be self-reliant and to be able to get through life without, having to like be completely dependent on another person, it's actually a rather wonderful feeling. So this can be done through personal development, spiritual growth, or deepening your connection with your friends, your family, as well as your community. So when your sense of fulfillment comes from within, the emotional roller coaster of limerence starts to lose its grip on you. So when I was shifting out of limerence and I was healing from it, I started to get very active in like social communities, like social groups that I used to neglect. I started joining a lot of book clubs and a lot of spiritual, growth clubs as well, because those were things that I was into. Met a lot of different friends, had a lot of different perspectives. Tried on a lot of different things that I wouldn't have if I was still limerent, because the whole day I would be spending like fantasizing on, of my limerent object, and I wouldn't be out doing stuff. But when I started getting into things, I started to realize there's a life out there and there are people out there that are so interesting and that I want to engage in. engage with. And slowly when it starts to shift towards, engaging in things and with other people, limerence starts to take less of a priority and importance in your emotional life and in your life as a whole. You start not having time, to be limerent, because who has time to focus on like your limerent object and fantasize about them when you have like this gardening club to go to, you have a book, to read for book club, you have new friends to catch up with. Those are things that, when you're spending time outside of the house, or even when you're spending time inside of the house doing like amazing creative stuff or stuff that you can get lost in, limerence starts to not, have a very strong grip over you. This is because it takes less of a priority and it doesn't seem as important anymore as compared to all the other things that you have going on for you in your life. So cultivate inner fulfillment, cultivate an amazing holistic life. It is incredibly important in your journey to healing from limerence. And this is my very last tip. So the real key takeaway for you here is, to shift your focus from the person you're obsessed with back to yourself. It's all about reclaiming your power, reconnecting with your passions, and creating internal rewards that don't rely on anyone else. So, by taking these steps, you will not only break free from limerence, but also build a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. Okay, one that actually thrives regardless of external validation. And that's like an amazing thing. Okay, it's an amazing feeling. I can't really describe it, but you have to get there to kind of know what I mean. Um, so this, hopefully the breakdown and this 7 tips actually makes the process feel a lot more achievable and makes the journey a lot more compassionate and a lot more down to earth for you as well, breaking it up into these actionable steps. So I'm hoping that this is helpful, but if you'd like to dive deeper into any of these tips, or you have any issues or any, stuff that has came up in your healing journey and want to talk to someone about it, my one-on-one coaching and my tarot sessions are now available. You can also catch any of the videos that I have on my Limerence playlist on my channel. I also have my book that has been out for quite a while now. It's how to break up with limerence and romantic obsession, talking about my journey, how limerence actually happens for some of us, and also some of the strategies that you can start using. I have a lot more strategies in there than the 7 that I've covered today. They can help you heal from limerence and enjoy a fulfilling, wholesome life. With that, I hope that you have enjoyed this video. And if you know someone else that needs, similar kind of help, please feel free to share this with them. If not, I hope you still got something away from it. And I will end this video here. Wishing you the very best on your healing journey, and I will speak to you very, very soon in the next video.